Welcome to the Everything Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Jason Ostrowski. This past week, I had the pleasure of sitting down with David Knox. Now, David Knox is someone that you should know. He's been doing training videos for us for many years, as well as many live events that we've had with him as our guest speaker down at Penn's Landing Caterers. Over many years of teaching agents and putting out training videos, David has become nationally known in the field of real estate and really has become his own brand. So without further delay, let's get to the interview, and here is David Knox.
Thank you very much, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm actually in California today. So when they closed Minnesota, I came to my second home in Rancho Mirage, California. I figure if I'm going to be alone and holed up, might as well do it in a warm climate.
You know, I was wondering if it was that warm in Minneapolis that you would be wearing a t-shirt, but I didn't want to judge. Maybe you just run a little hot. I don't know, So
No, just getting ready to do my workout. And that's part of what keeps my anxiety down.
So today, David, while we have you for limited time, I wanted to discuss the handling and the fear and anxiety of our clients, right? Because now is a unique time. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic presents certain challenges out there in the field right now, and who better to talk to than you, the master of objections and scripting and everything else. So I would just like to ask you, first thing right off the bat, since we are in a time like never before, do the same principles apply to clients, typical fears and anxieties of the past, or do they change because of this pandemic? I mean, do we still apply those same principles that we did before?
I think we apply the same principles of human interaction as we would anytime. But when you mention scripts and dialogues for objection, my first answer to that is this is not a time for scripts and dialogues and sales presentations. Throw that stuff out. And frankly, I've been against, a lot of scripts and dialogues that are snappy responses to objections. I've been against that forever. Yes, you need to know what to say. But right now, I think we need to throw away scripts and dialogues and instead focus on questioning and listening. I think it's time to be authentic. It's time to tell the truth. I think when people come out, hey, everything's going to be great when this is over. Yeah, and there's a pent-up demand. And as true as some of that might be, I think the messaging comes off as wrong. And when I listen to, I've been doing Zoom interviews with agents, gosh, I've done 50 or 60 of them. And I recorded an interview with a woman who got 2 listings on Zoom. And some of the prospect fears are legitimate. They fear getting sick. They fear having somebody bring it into the house. They fear financing falling through, transactions not closing, losing their job. So these are real fears. This is not a time for some snappy answer to an objection. And so I think set that aside. In fact, I had one guy emailed me, hey, are you going to write some objection scripts for, overcoming the COVID-19 objection? And my simple answer is, number one, you say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, how are you feeling and how would you like to proceed? And the response to that is, okay. So that's my script for now. What would you like to do? Okay. And so I guess getting into a conversation with a seller, first of all, every agent needs to call all their buyers and sellers. I assume by now they have done that. And the first thing to do is to just listen to them and encourage them to share their feelings. Hey, Jim and Karen, I want to give you a call and check in and say, how are you guys holding up? Mm-hmm. How are you doing? What's going on? And then just be quiet, shut up. And maybe you have to record yourself so you can hear yourself being quiet and listen. And in the interview I did with Vicki Westifer a couple of days ago, she introduced 2 questions to me that I thought were brilliant. And one of them was, what do you fear most in the selling process? And this is a question she's been using pre-virus and will continue to. And the other question was, what do you fear most about selecting a realtor? And I thought those are wonderful questions. So I updated our listing and pre-listing questions in the download section of the Fox and Roach training so agents can get that. And then after that, empathize with them and just mirror their feelings. And I did an exercise on a live video Zoom with Patty and the gang last fall. And one of the exercises I did, I role played with a woman and just said, hey, tell me a little bit about your situation and why you're moving. And she actually went through her real situation. And at the end of it, I said, I appreciate you sharing that with me. I just want to make sure I understand. And then I summarized everything that she said. And I divided into two columns, the facts and the feelings, the specific situation and the feelings. And I did a summary. And at the end of that, the goal is to have the client say yes or correct or that's right or some affirmation that the understanding occurred. And that's what I think people need to do. Just be quiet, listen, hear how they're doing, and they'll tell you how they'd like to proceed. So the best way to get rid of fear and anxiety, number one, is to listen to it, acknowledge it. And I think acknowledge that the fears are real. If somebody's worried about bringing the virus into their home, my gosh, you go, oh, they're not going to bring it in. Hey, we're going to sanitize in, sanitize out. And here's a couple of other things we do. People are going to punch you in the face. So I think acknowledge that fear. And then the next, something that I've taught agents forever is to, find out, do you want to sell? Do you want to stay? And we need to find that out, but in a more kind and gentle way. And the safest way is say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, how would you like to proceed? And just be quiet. Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, I was just going to say, I just think that's such sound advice because, in calling my clients personally, that's exactly what I try and do, right? We just want to empathize with how people feel because we're also feeling the same way, right? I think we're all in this together. And if we do just listen to what they want, that's the most important thing. And that's how we service our clients to begin with, is to do, what is best for our client. And that may mean different things this day and age, and yep. People may want extreme opposites of what we think that they may want or what we think that we can do as far as providing safety. Like you had mentioned, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what they think. And yep. So to your point.
Yep. It's all in their hands. And if you want to test a tiptoe into a sales, what you could say to the seller, Mr. Ms. Seller, I respect the fact that you'd like to put your home on hold right now or hold off or whatever that answer is. And just say, let me ask you this question. Your home has been in the market. We are still generating leads. If someone should contact us saying they've seen the home, they've looked at the photos, virtual tours, they've driven by your home, they really like it, they really want to see it, what would you like me to do? Mm-hmm. What would you like me to do is the question. And they might say, well, if they've driven by and they really like it, give me a call. And same with your buyers. I've been looking at homes for a number of weeks for you. If something comes up in your area and price range that I think is perfect for you, what would you like me to do? And they might say, don't tell me about it. Or they'll say, well, I guess it's okay to give me a call. So you're again, everything you're doing is giving them the choice and you respond to that. And the motivated buyers and the motivated sellers, their anxiety is kind of different. They want to sell, they want to move. And then you need to be prepared for that. So a couple of things. One, every agent needs to have a virtual selling plan. And I'm pretty sure Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox and Roach has something that lists all the different virtual things that you can do. Create a flyer and acknowledge to sellers that, this business has been virtual for years. The only thing that really changed, if you want to get down to it, is showings. That was physical. Inspections and appraisals. That was physical. Everything else was done virtually anyway. Mm-hmm. And here's what we're doing for showings. And I can't finish that sentence without knowing what's going on right now. And by the time this podcast get released, everything I said probably out of date. Because long-term planning right now is about 10 minutes.
It changes day to day.
Yeah, it changes day to day. So I think you acknowledge that the showings were physical, but here's what we're doing now. Inspections and appraisals were physical. Here's what we're doing now. Some states allow it, some don't. So I think explain your virtual selling plan. The next thing you need to do is counteract the media. The fear and the anxiety that sellers are feeling today is because of, I'm going to use the word irresponsible media. I think they are stoking the fears. You'll see headlines that are predictions, headlines that are facts that say specifically, here's how many people had it in this county and here's how many people died. That is a statement of fact. I accept that. But if they say, well, if they lift the restrictions too early, we think, all this could happen. And it's stoking the fear, and it's irresponsible. It's fear mongering, and I'm really tired of it. And one of the ways I minimize my fear and anxiety is I don't watch television news anymore. I don't want to watch people argue. I don't want to be uninformed. So I'll click the little CNN deal and I'll take a look what's going on today. I've got friends of mine who are addicted to the news, and they'll tell me if there's anything new I need to check out. So we cannot change people's attitudes a million at a time. We can only do it one at a time. And that's where we need to call our sellers and buyers and sphere of influence and past clients and check in with them. And that point was made to me the other day. I do a Friday happy hour with all my friends here in Rancho Mirage. They're friends in Minnesota. And here we rode motorcycles together. They known me for 30 years. And on the last one, they said, "Hey, David, give us an update. What's going on in the real estate business?" They know I've been doing training for years. They said, "What's going on? Or what's happening with their clients? Is anybody even buying or selling homes?" I went, "Well, yeah, we're having multiple offers over asking price. Listings are coming on. I interviewed a woman who took 2 listings by Zoom. And so absolutely it's happening." And they were surprised at how much activity was going on. So my point is, if my friends who know me are surprised, imagine all your buyers and sellers. They are going to be surprised. So we need to let them know that I'm not going to force you to sell, but just so you know, we've had a 20% reduction in buyers, but typically those were the people who were on the edge anyway. The other 80%, they want to buy now. We're getting multiple offers. This is what is happening. And they'll probably go, "Really? Yes." And then you explain the virtual selling plan. Now again, I need to do kind of a pause here. After listening to your buyers, sellers, customers, prospects, you've listened, you've empathized, and you decide to respond to whatever it is. For those people who are on the edge and they kind of would like to move ahead, whether they be a buyer or seller, here are some points you could make to them with all due caution. To the buyers, I would say low interest rates. The interest rates are incredibly low. It is a great time to buy. Number one, you will probably pay more in price because of the limited inventory. So let's be honest. As a seller, you're going to get more for your house because there's still a pent-up demand. As you buy, you're going to pay for that too. However, if you take a look at the long-term savings and interest, it will counteract what you pay more in the home. Plus, you sold your home for more. So if there's seller, there is scarcity. For buyers, they should get pre-approved now. Absolutely use this time to get pre-approved. The benefits to sellers, low inventory, so higher prices. Other sellers are holding off because of their fear and anxiety, and they're taking their home off the market. So if you are comfortable having your home on the market, you're going to be one of the few homes and get a better price. The demand's going to be high, and the future for buyers may change. We don't know what's going on. The media is going to, you never know what the media is going to do. So take advantage of what's going on. Now would be a good time to get pre-listing inspections, get that out of the way. So when the home does sell, you fix the stuff from the first inspection so the second one goes through. And a message to agents, one of the ways to overcome fear and anxiety, I think, is to post. Facebook Live is a great way to get to the top of the feed and do short promotions on, like maybe today you can say, join me at 5 o'clock Eastern, and I'm going to talk about our 5-point virtual selling plan. What are people doing? Answer questions. So in summary, step one is let your buyers and sellers drive. Listen to them, get in touch with their feelings, and just see where they are. And if you sense that there's any part of them that wonders how they might proceed, then you describe your virtual selling plan. What do you do to keep it safe, and go from there?
Yeah, to your point, that was actually my next question, is that, in this time of upheaval and change, it's almost like someone has turbocharged the changes that were already taking place. So things like a virtual open house, things like, the Zoom opportunities that are out there, or video conferencing, these things that we think are going to stick with the changes, even after we come out of this onto the other side, what is going to still be there? So, one of the questions I had for you was, what opportunities are there moving forward for agents that positively impact their business? How can they sharpen their skills in the environment that we're in right now?
That's a great question, because in every crisis, somebody comes out the other side. There is an opportunity and people capitalize on it. And to use the word capitalize on an opportunity during a period where people have been dying of a virus sounds horribly politically incorrect. So
Hmm.
let's rephrase, let's put it in a context. Right now, Zoom is making a fortune. Their
Hmm.
stock's going up. They're making a lot of money. Does anyone begrudge them of that? Does anybody think
Hmm.
they're being opportunistic? No, you and I are using Zoom. I've done 450 Zoom meetings over the last,
Yeah.
so I'm happy.
Yeah.
And Netflix is making a fortune. Their stock's going way up. Why? Because people are at home, they're watching entertainment. So here are companies that are, can you say they are taking advantage of? No, but they are providing a valued service for which we are happy to pay. So
Absolutely.
in the real estate industry, there are people that have to buy, have to sell. I was watching a TV interview with a guy who said, if we don't get our home sold, I can't perform. And the one that's going to buy, we're going to be out in the street. He was upset. He wants to sell his home. So we are essential. Regardless of what the state says, we are essential. So up until this virus, the real estate community has commoditized itself. I think we can agree with that. I mean, realtors all across the country, it's a mature business. So the difference from realtor A, B, C, and D in the mind of a homeowner is not that much. And they even say on
Hmm.
listing, well, we talked to two other realtors and everybody's the same. Well, guess what? In a market like this, the people who excel and respond to it by their virtual selling techniques, empathy, doing Zoom video presentation, we now have an opportunity to have a point of difference where we didn't before. And
Hmm.
every crisis, I have said that. And so we are going to have maybe a month or two or even 3, maybe 4, where we have a point of difference for the first time. So what do agents need to learn how to do? Master their technology, use Zoom. So one of the videos that your company has access to that I released, I don't know, a week ago, is how to set up a video conference space. And I show lighting and framing and audio and everything. It's a 15-minute video, and people have been sending me their before and after photos of having watched the video. They love it. It's like, oh my gosh, I can finally look professional. So the new first impression in our industry is going to be video conferencing.
Hmm.
And right now I've moved into a non-professional spot because it was better for audio. But all of a sudden, our first impressions is how we look on video. So that becomes our point of difference. We become good at that. You spend $109 on a Blue Yeti microphone. Ooh, big deal. You're going after $5,000 commission. Spend $100 on a mic. Come on.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and then the other video I'm going to release, I'm editing it literally. When I'm done, I'm going to edit today. I'm going to Dropbox it to my crew to post-produce. I interviewed a top agent named Vicki Westifer in Colorado Springs who got 2 listings on Zoom. Never met the people before or after. One was a neighbor referral. The other one was from her listing farm, and never met the people. And she had to convert them to using Zoom.
Hmm.
And one of them was resistant. Well, we're not accustomed. We usually like doing business face to face. And this was an older couple. And she says, you know what? The phrase they use, we like to be eyeball to eyeball. And Vicki said, Mr. Seller, we are still going to be eyeball to eyeball, just doing it a little bit differently. So she took a senior citizen who really is not technologically comfortable, converted him to Zoom, did it Zoom, taught him how to use Zoom, and got a listing. So that is going to be something we'll continue. What's the benefit of Zoom? Buyers and sellers were both more comfortable, or the sellers were more comfortable in their home, as was Vicki. It saved time. It saved driving. It is safe for people interviewing a buyer before you go to a vacant house. So I think that's going to be a way of doing business that will save tons of time. So get good at it. So this is an opportunity for agents to provide really, really good service and come out ahead. And the final comment I would make, if there was ever a time for realtors to call their past customers and clients, this is it. Call them 5 a day, 10 a day, pick a time, pick a whatever, and just call them up. And the same question, hey, you guys, you've been in your home. It's been about 4 years since you bought from me. And I was thinking about you, and I just wanted to check in and say, how are you guys doing? How are you holding up?
Hmm.
And then you might question, if you want to tiptoe into a sales area, you might say, now that you've been in your home, whatever, 5 weeks in a row, how's it holding up for you? And they might say, we love it. We're so glad we bought it from you. We really learned how much we love it. Or we grown to hate this place. We're either going to burn it down or sell it. And so we need your help.
Yeah, there's so many things that moving forward, I think that we will adapt to, because obviously, necessity is the mother of invention, like they always say. And
Yes.
I think it's for many agents, being on camera, right, was a difficult prospect. But to your point, one thing that I've done recently, like you have your studio space, you have your microphone, same with me. Now we're both on audio today, so we're doing what's best for audio, but I went out and bought some lighting. I went out and bought my microphone. Obviously I'm going to need that for the podcast, but for video use, it's fantastic. You look much more professional. So I think the things that are going to differentiate one agent from another is not only using the technology, but using it to the best practice that you can, right? And that is going to be that lighting, that's going to be looking professional, that's going to be certain things that you can do within that video conferencing. And then also we talked about virtual open houses in our company. One thing that we're doing is promoting virtual open houses right now, and I think that's going to stick into the future because you don't have to be in somebody's home. It could be a much shorter time period. There's many advantages for both agents and their clients. So the last question I wanted to ask you today, I kind of wanted to flip it a little bit. We always talk about the fear and anxiety of our buyers and sellers right now. But what about, the seller or the buyer that wants to be out there, they're gung-ho. We talk about, David, you had said, some people have to sell, right? And some buyers have to buy. But there are agents out there that are very fearful and anxious into going into people's homes right now. They're fearful and anxious about when is it a safe time to be back in our business doing business. So when we as agents may feel that fear and anxiety of doing too much too fast, what do you recommend to the agents out there who may feel that way?
I would say to the agent the same advice to a seller. I would talk to the agent and say, tell me how you're feeling. What do you most fear about it? How are you feeling? What's going on? And I would also defer to them. If there's an agent that says, look, I do not want to be out there. Maybe I'm a risk for getting it and I'm uncomfortable. I would say to them, then that's your choice. I'm not here to persuade you to go out and do it. So if you're feeling that discomfort, and by the way, if it's a rational fear, a good friend of mine's got diabetes. He's holed up forever. And so I'm not going to fight him on that. Why would I? He's taking care of himself. So I think all agents need to be doing whatever they do in concert with their own personal safety concerns and their own, I'm going to call it a corona correctness. And I hope that doesn't come across wrong. But there's a certain, even though it's okay to do something, the view from the public might be that you're not being appropriate. So having said that, agents are free to make their own decision, but you also have a responsibility yourself and your family to earn revenue. So how do you do that in a safe way? And again, so much of it can be done virtually. And this video with Vicki Westifer, I think is going to have a lot of agents going, hey, I can be safe and at home and still help my clients. So what a great concept for that. And by the way, for agents who log into the training, at the top of the subjects menu is a new curriculum called Today's Market. And there's 23 videos in there at the time we're doing this podcast. There'll probably be 24 by then. That they can go through. And I also have an action plan called Thrive Responsibly in Today's Market. And I haven't announced it, but in fact, I haven't even told Patty yet, but you can enroll agents in that. And it says, here's what you can literally do right now. One other thing to agents, here's what I would say to overcome your own fear and anxiety. Number one, begin each morning, write down everything you're grateful for today. Pick 4 or 5 things. You're grateful for your health, for your little dog, for your family. What are some things that you have right now for which you are totally grateful? And focus on that. Number 2, limit your exposure to the media and make sure that you're listening to things that help. Riz Media, Joan Doctor is featured in Riz Media all the time. So I will listen to them. They have good information and it's solid. So, but stay away from the fighting and the bickering and the screaming. Do your exercise in the morning. I'm ready to do my workout. I'm going to do, not today, but the other day I did a virtual workout with my trainer. And I set up my iPhone on a tripod and he led me through the stuff we do when we're in person. Meditation, taking 5 minutes and just relax and breathe and enjoy and get rid of your own anxiety. In fact, that's a nice final question because this interview is how do you minimize fear and anxiety in your sellers? And step number 1 really is minimize it in you, because if you're feeling it, you're of no value at all. And you're going to transmit it to your buyers and sellers. One of our members who said she rides horses. And she says, one of the things that you learn about horseback riding is if you are afraid of the horse knows they'll throw you off. And if your sellers know you are afraid and anxious, they're going to throw you off.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point to end on. And, just for me personally, I know I have to get out every day and I have my routine. And sometimes when you're in a tough situation like this, the routine is what keeps you going, right? That getting up every day, like you had mentioned, your affirmations. I do my affirmations every morning. I try and take at least an hour walk every day. You have to clear your mind and you have to stay sane in this environment. Like you said, I don't watch the TV anymore. I don't think there's any, productive measure out of it. But,
Right.
everybody has to handle things the way that they see best. But I know me personally, I shut off the news, try and focus on the positive rather than the negative. And, we know we're all going to get through this. So we're going to come out the other side stronger. We're going to come out the other side here better. And I just want to thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you for a little bit. I know we ran over a little bit, but I think the words of wisdom of David Knox is something that people should hear. So thank you
Oh,
for your
well.
time. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Jason. And I actually do a visual video Zoom meeting to companies lately called Thrive Responsibly. And basically the message is don't let a temporary situation do permanent damage. And that's something I'm still happy to do for you guys. So when they want to set up that, I'm happy to do it. But it was a pleasure being part of this. And I hope it helps agents and I hope it helps sellers.
Well, thank you very much, David. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you, talking to you at some point, hopefully in person in the near future.
That'd be great.
Thanks a lot. All right, so that was our interview with David Knox. I hope you enjoyed that. And just a few points that I wanted to make from that interview. What David really impressed upon me was, number one, pick up a phone and call your clients. And when you do that, make sure that you listen and empathize with what they have to say. Now, we have a built-in excuse to pick up the phone and see how our clients are, especially during this difficult time. So make sure that you are calling your clients. Number two, for those who have clients that may be on the edge about buying or selling, go over the pros and cons of putting their house on the market or potentially buying a new home. We are the ones that have the value because we have the stats, we have the knowledge to back it up, and we should be conveying that to help our clients make an informed decision. Number three, it's always a good time to buy or sell, and we need to let our clients know that. If they ask you about the market and they seem like they're interested in possibly buying or selling a home, then it's always a good time to sell, even in this market. Number four, whatever your buyer or seller feels about this pandemic, whether it's a great time to move forward or maybe they're a little fearful about doing so, it is up to them. There is no right or wrong answer. And the same goes for you, the agent. If you don't feel comfortable listing a home right now, then don't. If you don't feel like bringing a buyer through a property, if you can do that physically, then don't do that. Ultimately, it is up to you on how to proceed. That's a very personal issue. And then the last thing I would say is whatever you do, try and master the new technology that we are using nowadays, because I don't think it's going to be going away and it's going to come in handy in the future for your business. So make sure that you're taking the time to do that. Anyway, that's our podcast for this week. We'll be back with some new guests. I hope you enjoyed it and can't wait to see you next time on the Everything Real Estate podcast.